Hello, I'm Rick Anthony, and this is CaregiverAssist, a monthly series produced here at MLTV 21 of, by, and for family caregivers. I became a caregiver when my late wife had surgery a few years ago, and then became very ill about 1 year ago. Along the way, I was improvising and being guided by doctors, physical therapists, and friends who had more experience at family caregiving than I did. You'll meet some of them during the course of this series on caregiving. I didn't know there was an instructional program for caregivers. Most are online, as I found out, with no hands-on assistance. However, I recently learned of one that is different. The Surrey Academy for Family Caregivers is one of the many programs offered by Surrey Services, a local nonprofit organization that has a number of services for seniors. With me today to tell us about the Surrey Academy is Kristin Kingery, the Chief Operating Officer for Surrey Services. Kristin has an extensive background in home care and community services. Welcome, Kristin, to CaregivingAssist. I learned about this academy when I sat in on a program where one of your colleagues was making a presentation about the history of Surrey and an extensive list of services. And I was really surprised. I hadn't heard about it before, particularly learning that it's so hands-on. So why don't we create some context first? Tell us about Surrey and how the Academy came about.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. So Surrey is a really wonderful organization, nonprofit organization here on the main line that offers a lot of services to older adults in Chester and Montgomery counties. Our mission is to help people stay at home as long as they can and remain engaged in the community. And in order to do that, we've created a lot of different services. So we have 4 senior centers in Delaware and Chester counties, and they offer on-site programming. They have nutrition programs, exercise, entertainment, speaker series. They have a lot of programs where people can come in. We have a great nutrition program with a chef that provides very healthy meals. We have a partnership with Meals on Wheels as well, where we help with that. And we have a grab and go where people can just drive through, pick up meals, and keep going if they don't want to stop or they don't
At all of the locations?
Mostly at the Devon Center. We did have that during COVID at all of the centers. We did have that available. And we have a fitness center at our Devon location. The other services, we provide transportation for people who need to get places and don't have their own way to get there and don't necessarily want to use Uber or a taxi. They can use Surrey Transportation. And we do have some funding and a contract with the county transportation, so it can be discounted for folks that are a part of that. We have an information and referral program, so if people are interested in getting some more information about services, they can get information from everything from someone to go clean their gutters to, which Medicare plan should they choose for their needs, right? So we have the ability to make those referrals. We have a home care department, and we provide cleaning and in-home caregiving companions. We have a daily money manager who will come out and assist with budgeting and helping to pay bills and get through insurance claims. And we have an RN care manager that can help with managing medications and talking with physicians and being a liaison to medical providers.
Are all of those services free, or are there fees for all or some of them?
For the caregiving and the social companion, people may qualify for county funding through that, and so they'd have to go through their county office of aging, and we do accept that funding. For the daily money manager and the RN, at this point it is private pay, but periodically we'll get grants or donations to be able to help people who can't afford it. So there's an option there. But
aren't some of the home care services, other than the ones you mentioned, covered by Medicare?
No, this is non-medical, and so they are not covered by Medicare. The services that are covered by Medicare need to be affiliated with either RN skilled visits or a physical therapist, and then they might be able to get a home health aide short-term in the home with that. But this is non-medical, as considered custodial. Insurances don't pay for that. Long-term care insurance might, if you have a long-term care insurance policy.
And if you're able to meet the elimination period that's in most policies.
Right.
I had my own experience with that.
Yeah.
And it's still going on.
I bet.
Well, insurance companies really don't want to pay.
They don't.
So they'll come up with every hurdle they can think of
Yep.
until they just wear you down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our daily money manager knows how to do that. So she has learned how to do that, and she does it well.
She's got to be tough as nails.
Yeah, and she's persistent,
Yeah.
right, until she gets what she needs. So
out of all of that, and that's quite a list of services, and you've been around for how long?
Surrey has been around for over 40 years. Yeah, it started just as neighbors driving other neighbors to appointments, because Jean LaRouche, our founder, just found that there was that need in the neighborhood. So she just gathered It became a volunteer program, and that's how we started. And now we've grown into the organization that we are today.
I see your vans around in the community. So out of all of that, how did the Academy come to be?
Sure. So as Surrey continues to support older adults in their homes, people at some point will need some help. And over the years, the pool of caregivers, of paid caregivers, has been dwindling. A lot of the people that were caregivers have been retiring. COVID has exacerbated the shortage because people have gotten out of the field through fear, their own health concerns, or just the stress. So there was a bigger gap. And a lot of family members are now being thrust into the role of caregiver because there aren't enough paid caregivers. So in realizing that and recognizing that the baby boomers are starting to age, and by 2030, all of them will be 65 or older, there is a larger population of older adults that need support and will continue to need support, and a smaller number of caregivers who are there to provide it. So Surrey, in thinking innovatively and trying to figure out what else do we need to do in order to continue with our mission, realized that we could train professional caregivers to become a paid caregiver. But the bigger need was family caregivers who weren't planning to be a caregiver and now they are, needed that support. So that's how the idea was born for Surrey Academy, is that we would want to provide a training program in both realms.
And how long has it been in operation?
It's been a little bit less than a year. We've been in operation, and we were fortunate enough to receive a grant from Haverford Township to provide this program through their CARES funding. That's what the money came from, and it was based on workforce development after COVID.
Yeah.
So we've been just very fortunate to have that grant and to be able to provide this service.
And it's free to participants.
It is.
Including the professional caregiver program.
That is correct. It's free because the grant covers all of the costs.
Right.
So the people that participate in the program do not have to pay for it. I think where we're a little bit different, there are some similar types of training programs through technical schools and through some other organizations. For us, there is no charge, but also there's no commitment to have to work for Surrey. We would love it if you would, because we know that we've trained you really well, and we will guarantee somebody a job if they get through the program, but it isn't a requirement. And then the family caregiver piece is not something that I know of anybody else that does hands-on caregiver training for family members.
Well, that was the point I made, at least based on a little bit of research I did. Most of the other programs are all online, right? No hands-on assistance. You do use some online training.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Is the training program the same for family caregiver or a career family caregiver?
It's a little bit different. So for people who want to be the career caregiver, there are state regulations through the state of Pennsylvania that they have to get through in order to be able to say that they are qualified as a direct care worker in Pennsylvania.
Are they certified?
It's not really a certification. I mean, they get a certificate, but there really isn't what's called a certified caregiver in Pennsylvania. You're just a qualified direct care worker. And so they have to get through a certain amount of programs. They have topics they have to go through. They have to take an exam. They have to do a lot of things that's required. So once someone who is professional gets through all of that, they can take their certificate, their completion, and go anywhere and say, I am qualified and trained. For a family member, it's very tailored to what that family member needs. And we have a nurse educator. And for families, she will call the family and they will talk through what the situation is, what it is that they need. And usually the plan is that the nurse will go right to the home, with the family member and the person they're taking care of, and look at the environment and do a little bit of an assessment, and then provide the hands-on training. Here's how you transfer somebody who has right-sided weakness, for example, because that's very different than somebody who doesn't have that. So she shows them in their home with their setup exactly what it is that they need to do and how to do it safely.
All aspects of caregiving, medication management, for example.
She can show them that, yes. So she can show them how to set up like a pill box so that they can count them all out and remember that these are the right ones at the right days and when they are need to take them. She can teach them how to read the pill bottle. She can explain what some of the side effects are, what to look for, who to call. But then she's also available if they get a new medication, for example. They can call her and say, oh my gosh, now she's on whatever, what do I need to know about that? And the nurse can offer a little bit of ongoing support when things change.
It sounds like it's customized for each individual participant.
It is for the family, for the family piece, yes, it is. It's very customized. And we can offer online training if they'd like to do that. We certainly can, that is an option, and we would encourage that for just some additional information.
That's got to be awfully staff intensive to have people available I want to pick a number, 12 different participants, 12 different homes, 12 different settings, 12 different sets of circumstances.
Right now we have just one nurse educator, and it's been manageable for her so far, but we have 4 nurses on staff that most of them are used as needed, and so we would be able to send them out to different homes. So far it's manageable because usually it's just one visit, maybe an hour or 2 hours, just to show people how things are going, and it seems to work pretty well. So do family caregivers complete a program, or is it open-ended? It's really open-ended. It's not as finite as the paid caregiver program because it really depends on what their needs are, how much time they have. Do they have the time and the ability to sit down and do a course? A lot of them don't. We've found that some family members really want to do the coursework. We'll assign them through our platform some courses, and they just don't have the time to sit down and do it and focus. A lot of them are, they're the sandwich generation. They're taking care of a parent, they have children, they have a job, they have soccer practice, they have all of these things. And so to be able to really spend the time on the course, it's tough.
Are there criteria that you have? Do you screen applicants for the program? Not for the paid program, for the I didn't mean the people pay for it, but the career.
We do screen people who want to be career caregivers.
I would think so. But what about the others like me?
No. I mean, it really is just the nurse having a conversation. So it's really more of an assessment, not really a screening, just to assess the needs and assess what it is that you might, what you might want and what kind of help.
And is the program offered at all of your locations or only through Devon?
So it's interesting. So the grant is from Haverford Township, which is Delaware County. So we're focused mostly on offering this support to people in Delaware County. Right now, we are in Devon just because that's where we have the office space, but we're opening a brand new building in Broomall in the middle of January, and then Surrey Academy will be located in that building.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to have a dedicated space. We have a skills lab for the paid caregivers where there's a bed and a wheelchair and a lift and a mannequin so that they can practice there. So it will be located in Broomall.
Where are all of your locations? Are Devon and the one in Broomall? The
one in Broomall, and we have a location in Media. The new one in Broomall will be combining our 2 sites, which is Havertown and Broomall. They will be combined into this new, larger Broomall site. Okay,
and the one in Media is affiliated or associated with a church?
It's located in a church, so they rent the church location, but it's a Surrey Services Senior Center.
Who designed the curriculum, and has it changed over the year or so that you've been in operation?
So the curriculum was a collaboration between myself, our nurse, and then the Pennsylvania state regulations. So the platform that we use already has online programs that they have to go through, and each of them take about an hour. and then they have questions. And so all of that was designed with the training involved. So we were able to choose which programs we wanted to meet the Pennsylvania state. And then our nurse did what we have as a skills lab. She did that curriculum where she has people practice, and then she has certain criteria that she measures them against. And then we decided that we wanted to have an internship for the paid caregivers, because going into somebody's home for the first time, it's a little uncomfortable if you've never done it before. So they'll have 2 shifts of an internship with different caregivers who have been with us a long time, and we consider them mentors. So they'll have some experience going in. So it was really just a collaboration of the 2 of us and the state regulations.
So do you have a dedicated staff to the academy, or does the nurse, for example, have other duties, other responsibilities for Surrey?
So the nurse actually is the only dedicated staff person right now. She's our nurse educator. She just does Surrey Academy. The other 2 staff people also work in our home care department. And our recruiter, who is recruiting staff, will come across people who don't have any experience or qualifications. So she will encourage them to join the academy so that they can become a paid caregiver. And our director of home care works with the family members and oversees the running of the program. So they do both.
I mean, emotional support is so important. Do you provide ongoing support for the family caregivers who complete, quote unquote, the program, and still need people to talk to, get some advice, some counsel, some guidance?
Yeah, Surrey offers caregiver support groups. And so we do encourage people to attend caregiver support groups, but we're also available through home care, through our information and referral and our member services, that anybody, they call any of the Surrey numbers and need some support, we're always there.
Tell me about the home care support groups. Is that outside of the academy or part of the academy?
No, it's part of Surrey Services, and we have a social worker who leads a caregiver support group every other week. Right now it's hybrid, so you can either be on Zoom or you can be in the building. And it's just a group of people that are providing care, and they support each other with the facilitation and support of a social worker.
And is that well attended?
It depends on the day, right? So sometimes it is. I mean, there can be 4 to 8 people. The social worker prefers not to get more than 8, because then it makes it a little bit difficult. So it's been very manageable, but we are prepared to be able to offer a second one if it does get larger, which, we would like to be able to do that.
What effect has COVID had on the academy?
So,
if any?
Not really, because we started the academy pretty much after everyone had gotten used to the pandemic. I think COVID was the impetus for starting it, just because so many people had left the caregiving profession. So,
do you have participants who start the program and have to drop out because it doesn't meet their expectations, or they just don't have the time?
We've had a few that they don't have the time. I haven't heard from anyone that it didn't meet their expectations. We also have found that people who apply for a job with us and want to be a caregiver, they need a job. And so saying, well, you can take 2 or 3 weeks to go through the academy, we don't pay them, right? It's a free training, but they need income. So what we've started doing, and this is a little bit of a change, is we'll bring them in to work for Surrey as a social companion, which doesn't require any experience, because they're doing things like grocery shopping and making beds and playing cards and being social and supportive.
And they're paid for that.
And they're paid for that as a companion.
Yes.
And then they can go through the program, and then they can become a caregiver once they've done that. And we actually just have our first person who's done that, and she's getting ready to finish. Yeah. So it's exciting.
I know my next question varies by state, but in Pennsylvania, can a family member who is a caregiver be paid for the time spent in caregiving?
There is a program that will do that. And Surrey doesn't do that, but I know there are some other organizations that do. And I believe that it is through the county. But there are other organizations that they will hire you if you're the family member, and you become an employee of theirs. but you take care of your own family member.
I don't remember the details. I should have checked into it. But my recollection is it's not that easy. I mean, there are pretty stringent criteria. Otherwise, everybody would be rushing in saying, I'm a caregiver.
Yeah, you have to still meet the same criteria as a professional paid caregiver. So what would be good with our program is a family member can go through the paid caregiver training and meet the criteria for Pennsylvania and then become a paid caregiver. So that's what you have to do.
Pretend for a moment that I called you and said, I am a caregiver. I've been a caregiver now for 3 years, but I need help because I really don't know what I'm doing. As I said in the opening, and I was improvising.
Yeah.
And there were times, particularly in the evening, where I wish there was somebody I could call, because particularly with the meds, because her blood pressure was all over the place. And as you know, you can over medicate,
Right.
which would not be a good thing. So what would you do for me? I have some experience as a caregiver. I may have to unlearn some of the things I've been doing. Would you treat me any differently than someone who has just been introduced or inducted into caregiving?
For the caregiver program, the nurse does an assessment and will start working with the person where they are. So I think the only thing that would be different is how she would work with you. Somebody who has never been a caregiver before, they would probably need more introductory things where you might not need that. You probably could do higher level. So, but the nurse assessment piece and coming to the home to find out exactly what you need, we would be able to meet you wherever you are.
How many people have completed the program, the 2 tracks?
So the 2 together, we've had 9 people that have completed it. We've had a lot more people that have had interest that have had to drop out because they didn't have the time. And we also found, you asked me before and I didn't answer, is how's the program changed? And for family members, we had started with them needing to do some online learning first before we go into the home. And we found that a lot of times that wasn't realistic. So we swapped it where the nurse goes into the home first. And now that we're doing that, we're finding less family members are dropping out.
How do you get the word out? It's free.
It's free.
It's professionally run. It's helpful. It's needed. How do you get the word out?
We've done some newspaper articles. This interview is really one of the most wonderful things that we can do. We do talk to professionals, social workers. We are letting people know in like some of the clergy in the local churches so that they can tell their parishioners. We talk with our own Surrey members and let them know that we have it. And we have gotten some information that way. We have social media presence. It's on our website. So that we're doing a lot of different avenues just to let people know that we have it.
Yeah, there really isn't much on the website about the program.
There is a tab that you have to click. So we're looking to figure out how do we make that. So if across the top of the Surrey website, over in the corner, it says Surrey Academy. So if you click on that, it opens up and tells you a lot more about it.
Oh, I guess I missed that. Because all I saw were the 2 tracks, a brief description of the 2 tracks, and then I think there was a form to fill out.
Okay.
Am I recalling correctly?
I think so. Yeah.
But I was looking for more information about the content of the program.
Got it.
Yeah.
Meaning like what's included as far as, I see.
Yeah, particularly for somebody like me.
Right.
Yeah. How does it tie? No. Now that you've had almost a year's experience, hands-on experience, and living with caregivers and the angst that they go through, particularly those who are employed, as you mentioned. And I did some research on this for another project, and as I recall, in just about every employee population, at least 5% are caregivers. And trying to juggle a full-time job with close to a full-time caregiving responsibility at home, plus taking care of the kids and stuff. I don't know how they do it. And some of them just burn out. So to that point, as a result of the experience so far, do you see a need for other kinds of programs? Burnout, for example. People who become completely disoriented because of the pressure, they just can't take it. so they go on meds themselves, medications and so on. You must see some of that and an anticipation of more of it because there will be. Are there other programs you should be thinking about?
To address some of those needs?
Yeah.
I think just being sure that there is a lot of opportunity for support and connecting people with each other. I think a lot of times the best support is, you find a friend who's going through the exact same thing that you can call at any moment. You can go have coffee, you can talk on the phone, you can sit in the pantry and scream or cry, right, with a friend who really understands. And I think that type of a matching program where people can do that, it doesn't take a lot of extra time where you have to go to a group or you have to drive somewhere. I think that type of phone support is probably one of the best options.
Do you make a special effort in the program to engage other members of the family?
Yeah, we do. We try to, whoever it is that we're working with directly, talk to them about what other supports they have. We encourage them to bring more family members on the day that the nurse is there so that everybody can see the same thing and we'll be able to help each other.
Mm-hmm. This may not be a fair question because it's only less than a year with 9 participants. But what have you learned about the people who need the support, need the service? Were there any surprises?
I think the biggest surprise was how many people really are in that position where they need the help and that they had so little time to do the online learning and that we had to really, really shorten it. Mm-hmm. It never dawned on me that they wouldn't be able to sit down and do a couple of hours of online learning, that they are going constantly, right?
Yes.
And there's no time to do that.
A couple of hours is a lot of time.
It is, right. I think that was what I learned, right? That was the biggest surprise to me, that just a couple of hours was still too much.
So how did you fix that?
That was how, when we started sending the nurse directly to the home to show them the hands-on, here's how you do it, because they got the most important part in there, which is physically how you need to do it. So
the program started out initially as online, mostly online?
To start with, and then the nurse would go out after.
Yeah, so you turned it around.
We turned it around, and the online is not a requirement. It is an elective, so to speak. If they want more, they have the time, they'd like to do it. I think the other thing that we learned is that a lot of our family caregivers are older, and the online stuff can be a little confusing and a little hard.
Yeah, they're not technology savvy.
It isn't. And, the online learning is interactive. So they want to keep people engaged. So you have to click on this to get this to work and that. And it can be a little confusing if you're not used to it. And very tedious. So what I'm in the process of doing is working with our provider to see if I can get some of it in paper form. Because somebody might be able to sit and read it rather than having to boot up your computer and get through the whole lesson. And that would be a lot more convenient if they have it in a book or a packet that they can read.
Or just the audio.
Right.
Not having you sit in front of a screen.
Yeah, they could do it in the car. Exactly. They could listen to things.
Well, have you encountered any language problems, people for whom English is not the first language?
We haven't yet. The provider that we use does have almost all of the lessons, the written lessons in Spanish. But there's a few others that are in different languages, but Spanish is the one that we have most.
Yeah. Again, given the need and given the fact that we have an aging population and we have a caregiver crisis in this country, it's only going to get worse.
Right.
And nobody's addressing it. The government certainly isn't addressing it. I think there was a study done recently, I have to look it up, a strategy to provide more caregiving support at the government level, God help us. I guess I'm surprised you haven't had people knocking at the door.
I think we expected a lot more people to knock at the door as well. And I believe it's a time issue. I really do. I think it's a time issue. And, yes, I really want to do that.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the bottom of the list. And
You have to get some testimonials from the 9 people who have gone through it.
Yeah.
That's the best way to sell it.
I'll tell you, and the paid caregivers that we have put through it, we've hired 5 of the 6. They're all working. They've all got a full schedule, and we get the most wonderful accolades from the clients about how wonderful they are.
So how can people learn more about Surrey and the Academy?
So probably the website is the best. So www.surreyservices.org is the website. Or they can call our main phone number at 610-647-6404 and say they'd like more information on Surrey Academy, and that'll get to me.
Thank you very much for being here, Kristin.
Thank you so much for having me.
You. My guest today has been Kristin Kingery, who is Chief Operating Officer for Surrey Services and the head of the Surrey Academy. If you have questions or comments, you can reach me at CaregiveraAssist MLTV21 @gmail.com. Until next time, take very good care of yourselves.